Listen, it's great to be with you. Actually, normally I would be about half a mile away on a Thursday night over there playing golf, but it's only something as important as this that has brought me here. I am honoured, and I mean that. You buy a house, and I think Jim has spoken about this, and you're told it's one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your life. You get married, you plan a family, you set up home, huge, life-changing decisions. But let me tell you, the biggest decision you're going to make in your life, you will make on the 18th of September, and make no doubt at all about that. Because that decision is going to change your life, but much more so, the life of your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and the countless children yet to be born. Now there's a responsibility for you, and I wonder if you're up for it. Yes, you can play it safe. You can listen to all the scary stories. We won't be able to use the pound. And of course you know that Barack Obama and the whole of the Americans can't sleep at night because we might become independent. The floodgates are going to open. Scotland's going to be overrun with terrorists. And the effect in the Western world will be cataclysmic, according to George Robertson. I think being elevated to the House of Lords has been cataclysmic for him, where he's lost his marbles. There'll be financial meltdown. We'll plunge into poverty. Pensioners like me will be impoverished. Children living in London will be living in a foreign country. That's the latest idiocy for the boy David. And after September the 18th, if you're out in Gartocharn, the four horsemen of the apocalypse will be galloping by at I'll put it to you, all the great changes, all the advances that have ever been made have been made by men and women who strode out believing that something could be done. I bet that David Livingstone, Mary Slessor, Andrew Carnegie, Logie Baird, Dunlop, Robert Burns were told it can't be done. Don't be daft. You're being unrealistic. Now that's history. But we've listened to Jim tonight, what he's done, and I bet they tell you it can't be done. Don't be so stupid. Go and get a decent job like anybody else. What about Roger Bannister? He'll never run under 4-minute mile. He did. And I bet teenage Andy Murray was told, won Wimbledon. Don't be daft, son. They laughed at him. Scotland has become great because of its visionaries and because of its pioneers. And I tell you this, no new business would ever be started unless you took a risk. No new relationships would ever be started unless you took a risk. So do we have the self-belief to make it work, or do we stay in the same old rut? Fearful of failure, unable to risk grasping this opportunity that's before us. It's a risk, but let me tell you, the alternative is also a risk. Perhaps a more predictable risk, but it's a risk nonetheless. More power for Hollywood? Spell it out, Mr. Cameron. Ah, well, wait and see, it'll be good. Would you buy a second car for him? Or Osborne, or Clegg? I'll tell you, I'll be safer dealing with Rodney and Delboy. Vote no, you'll get more powers. The bottom line is that those who are making those statements, let's be honest, are weighing up self-interest against change. That's what we're getting. It will be token change. And I know that Don will say amen here. It will not right the wrongs of our society. Somebody recently, writing, likened our country to be like the patient lying in the hospital trolley. I quote, "Submitted to every test and monitoring machine but immune from diagnosis or cure. What shall we do with the cadaverous thing if the adrenaline shot of independence is rejected?" A pertinent question. So if you think independence is a risk, think of the alternative. But pause, I've got ahead of myself. Because I want to tell you why I'm going to vote yes. Because see, for me, it's the easiest job ever. The rest of you have got things to ponder. I've never had anything to ponder. Because immediately I knew I had to vote yes. Because it was a no-brainer. I have no other option. For most of my adult life, I've had a mad, uncontrollable passion to ban bombs. And at the very doorstep of very doorstep of age 70, I face the fact I've been an abject failure because I haven't banned one bomb. And at last, I have a chance. I sweated through the Cuban crisis. I'll never forget it. Going to work with 4 pairs of underpants. I often thought I would never return. Later on I began to think I was irrational, but not so. Evidence has now emerged that were it not for John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Western Bartonshire would be a wasteland. Incredibly, they both resisted pressure from the hawks in their respective camps, who were all for starting a full-scale shooting match. And let me tell you, the descendants of those muppets are still with us, let there be no doubt. Trident's a first-strike weapon. It's capable of preemptive strike. Get them before they get you. And my understanding is even if we get Trident, the American finger will at least be partially on the button. I don't know what that makes you feel, but my goodness, it scares the hell out of me.
Me too.
But if you're not convinced by that, I ask you, who is the threat that this £100 billion weapon will deter? The likes of Osama bin Laden? Aye. Boko Haram? I don't think so. A most pertinent question, but I'll tell you, the cost. What about the cost? £100 billion invested in health and education or in the son of Trident? We know the answer. I think it's obscene that we should possess such a weapon of mass destruction, something that could bring about the end of civilization as we know it. And if you don't believe me, ask me afterwards. And I don't buy the line that we will not use it. I'm sure Oscar Pistorius, when he put that gun underneath his pillow, might have thought the same thing. To possess is to open the possibility of using. And I don't accept either that somehow we, Great Britain, are more moral than any other country and we can be trusted because that's what they believe. The only reason we're having this is so we can sit with the big boys and influence the world. We're still imperialistic at heart. Let us bin the son of Trident if we want to give a moral lead. It's also an act of appalling prodigality in an age when we see starvation and resignation. We see the rise of food banks, as Don has spoken about tonight. Could we consider it justifiable to engage in this sort of waste? So for me, the decision's always going to be easy. Here's my one and only chance to get rid of the bomb. Now, I don't need any other reason, but there are other reasons. I'm concerned about the state of democracy in this country, about society, about culture, about confidence, about fears, about emotions. You know, about our past, about our history. Politics is in crisis and it's declining. And I think it was you, Don, that said, they're not accountable. Well, if we vote them in, we can vote them back out again. Now, our politics should be focused on the lives and histories of our people, making them first a priority. I would like to say that right now we're being ruled by people who have little, or I would argue, no idea of how the vast majority of folks in this country live. Gone are the days when the local grandee, having done well out of the community, put himself up as a candidate and stood for Conservative. Gone are the days when the local councillor or the trade unionist tried to serve his own folk. Today the vast majority of MPs are parachuted in with little affinity to the community that they're going to serve. They're simply doing a job. Vacation is gone. I believe in Scotland that would change. And I think it already has changed. I'm staggered in the UK cabinet of about 23 that sit about the table. 9 of them are Oxford graduates. 6 of them are Cambridge graduates. That's 15 from Oxbridge. And almost all of them have studied at expensive, select, exclusive private schools. Is that representative? Yet when I look at the movers and shakers in Edinburgh, and I'm just going to pick these folk at random, Ruth Davidson, Buckhaven High School, Glasgow University. Joanne Lamont, Woodside Secondary, Glasgow University. Margaret Curran, Our Lady in St Francis, Glasgow University. Annabel Goldie, Greenock Academy, Strathclyde University. Wally Rennie, Bellbaxter High School and Paisley Tech. Tavish Scott, Anderson High School, Lerwick, Napier College. Alex Salmond, Linlithgow Academy, St Andrews. Nicola Sturgeon, Greenwood Academy in Dreghorn, and then Glasgow. And of course, Patrick Harvey, Dumbarton Academy in Manchester University. Now that's diversity. That's meritocracy rather than aristocracy. I'm no liable to vote Conservative in the future election, but I'll tell you what, I'm with you. I think rather than support the likes of Tony Blair, I might just well. I would have more trust in Ruth Davidson and Annabel Goldie, because I believe they have a greater understanding of where I and my countrymen are than the 23 that sit around a table in number 10. Politicians have become careerists and remote at the same time, and independent Scotland, I believe, will change that. I close by saying this. As with any major decision in life, there's a risk. Do you stay with what you've got, fearful of change, or do you have the self-belief to ensure that this works? Independence will bring opportunities. Right now we have a government we did not vote for, controlling our future, spending 80% of our money. Vote yes, and we have the future in our own hands. Vote no, and the risk and the uncertainty do not disappear. Can we afford it? Can we afford to say yes? I'll put it another way. I don't believe that we can afford to say no.